Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Health Made Simple Show. I'm your host, Dr. Bart, and today we're going to keep it real and raw. Today we're going to talk about the truth. And whenever I say that, it always reminds me of a movie from years ago. This probably dates me a little bit. I think the name of the movie was called A Few Good Men, where Tom Cruise was interviewing, or he was kind of grilling Jack Nicholson in a court scene. And he says, I want the truth from you. And Jack Nicholson says, you want the truth? And he says, you can't handle the truth. It was always an interesting statement when he said that. And then he told them why he couldn't handle it, which then got him in some trouble. Anyways, today we're going to talk about the truth. And I'll tell you why I'm going to have this conversation for you today. And with that being said, there are things about the truth that often we think, oh, of course, I'm going to accept the truth. I'm going to listen to it. I'm always that person that no big deal. You can tell me the truth, doesn't matter. I don't know if we are. So we'll talk about the conversation of, are we ignoring the truth? Can we handle the truth? And then also, is there anyone in our lives that we allow to tell us the truth, which is very, very interesting. And of course, there's a good chance you're listening to me say that and you're thinking, of course, I can handle the truth. I want to listen to the truth. I pay attention to the truth. And of course, people can tell me the truth. I don't know if that's always true. And the reason I'm going to say that, think of it right now of someone in your family that you care and love for. Most of you are listening to this podcast to this nature. You're thinking about figuring out ways to level up your health, and you're getting into a good groove. Many of you are listening to this and you're in phenomenal health, and you continue to look for ways to level up. And yet there are family members that you have, and you every day think, man, I wish I could help them a little bit more. And the truth is, there it is. There's a lot of those family members are not willing to listen to the truth. They're not looking at it. So there's a possibility that we have some of these deep down inside of us as well. All right. With that being said, let's keep doing the thing, keep sharing it out. And I'm going to address all of those in just a moment here. Let me tell you why I'm doing this. Well, like I said, keep doing your thing, keep sharing it out, keep spreading the love, pass this on to anyone that you think would just benefit from learning a little bit more about their health and ways that they could level up as well. This is one of the conversations that even I'm not going to give any magic formulas today. Just listening to this could be the next step, the next kind of rung on the ladder, the next bridge that you need to cross to get to your next place. Because often we have our own ideas, our own concepts, our own belief patterns and habits we're kind of stuck to. And sometimes we need to expose ourselves or be a little bit more vulnerable and listen to some other information coming in from people that we care and love about, that will give us good, honest information to see if there are some things that maybe we can do a little bit better at to level ourselves up. All right. So with that being said, why am I sharing this conversation about the truth? So this past weekend, man, it's been the last 2 weeks. I feel like I've just been on the road nonstop. I got an opportunity to go up to Pennsylvania and speak up there to a great group of doctors up there, talk all about gut health and adrenal health. That was fantastic. Got home for about 2 days and then headed down to Orlando, where I had an opportunity to speak at the largest chiropractic convention in the country. It's called the FCA National. Love the event. I go there every single year when we get our continuing ed credits. And it's just great to be surrounded by like-minded people. And again, I was very encouraged. I go down there and it reminds me of what an incredible profession I am part of. When you go down there, folks, there's couple thousand men and women there, practitioners, men and women, entrepreneurs, moms and dads, all the above, and they're healthy. It's so cool to see. It is so cool to see that amount of people collectively in one area and collectively fit, healthy, strong, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, smiling people walking around. I get to go to a lot of events all around the country on a regular basis, and it is by far the most unique experience to see that many people collectively happy, healthy, for the most part. Of course, there's some people, not perfect there, but I'm not talking about perfection, but generally. So any of you that are listening, or if I got to meet you for the first time this weekend, thank you for participating. You guys are all awesome. So with that being said, I got an opportunity to speak a couple times. Here's where it gets a little interesting. For years, I have wanted to be able to, if you want to say, take the stage, the center stage, and be able to speak some of my truth about where I see healthcare in general going. With that being said, if you've listened to my podcast before, I think two things are happening. I think there's a small niche of healthcare practitioners that are moving in the right direction. And I think generally, though, the larger group of the population of healthcare practitioners across the board are kind of not moving in the right direction. And there's two parts to that. One, they're concerned with bucking the trend, meaning that their paychecks are uh, attached to them following the rules of the system. This isn't so much for the private practitioners, like a lot of the chiropractors out there, functional medicine doctors, but the men and women that are in the hospitals who I love and adore, and they're amazing human beings, but because they're in systems, they are often afraid to buck the system and essentially practice their truth or speak their truth. And that's real, folks. There's a great men and women knowing that, unfortunately, the advice that they're giving or the suggestions and the prescriptions that they're writing every single day are not necessarily the best things for human beings. It's a tough one to swallow, but there's reality there. Even in my own profession, I see the other challenge is this. So there's the fear of bucking the system because a paycheck will be directly related. And I don't hold it against them. Every single one of us has a responsibility to put money on the table, right? So being able to put food on the table. So we have to make a living. The other part of it is that there's a massive issue with the practitioners across the board. And this is where the whole truth statement comes in. That across the board, not enough practitioners are walking their talk. And what I mean by that is that they are not necessarily practicing enough health practices, and therefore they lower the bar for their patients. And I personally have a little bit of a challenge with that. Just so it doesn't sound like it's a lot of ego here. What I mean by that is I don't think any one of us as practitioners has the responsibility of being in perfect health. Hell no. I'm not in perfect health. I'm always working on things, and see, things always seem to be working backwards at times, but also moving forward. So with that being said, the healthcare practitioners that show up at these events, and this is one of the messages that I send every time I go out and speak to other healthcare practitioners, is this, is that if we walk our talk, if we are walking in the shoes of what it takes to be healthy, and a reminder, there's nothing convenient, there's nothing comfortable, and oftentimes everything's going to be unfamiliar when it comes to becoming healthy. That message alone needs to be shared. And I'll say that again, that being healthy most likely is going to be inconvenient, uncomfortable, and unfamiliar. And the only way you can confidently say that conversation, say that sentence, is if you're walking your talk. Meaning, listen, I know that on a daily basis, it's kind of inconvenient to be a healthy person. I have to drive by 50 different food restaurants to find one that's convenient for the type of food I like to eat. Do I think it's comfortable getting up every morning and getting into a cold plunge? No. I can go on and on. Do I think it's comfortable getting up or convenient getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:45 sometimes in the morning, so I can get my exercise in before I go to work? No. That being said, many of you understand exactly what I'm saying. When we really look at it, being healthy, it's not convenient. It's not even comfortable. And oftentimes we have to do things that are unfamiliar. This is the message that I wanted to send to the practitioners. And frankly, I was maybe even a little nervous to do it. So I'm on center stage and I sent this message. And I'm going to tell you two things about sending a message of truth: when it matters, when it backfires, and when it does not. So I was able to get on the stage and talk to my colleagues. I don't know how many were on, maybe 500, 1,000 different people out there. And afterwards, the message was received strongly. They heard it. They wanted to hear it. It was amazing. I'm sure there were some who didn't want to hear it. And really, what did I tell them? That we needed to level up, that we needed as healthcare practitioners to lead the way. And again, I'm not talking about being in perfect health or perfect shape or have a certain body, but be walking our talk. If you talk to people about health and nutrition, be in practice of eating good foods, of getting exercise, of sleeping good. Understand what the general population, what they're up against. Folks, that's the magic. If you're walking, you're talking anything, you're going to be able to relate to the next person who has those same challenges. So anywhere you are, so anyone listening to this, if you're a healthcare practitioner, if you're a coach, if you're a friend, whatever it may be, when you are doing it, you become the person that can coach the next person to doing it as well. So I was able to send my message. It was received great. It completely inspired me that many people, really, so many people came up to me after the talk and said, thank you. Thank you for saying that out loud. So many of us needed to hear it. And what were some of the things I was saying up there? I was saying there's nothing convenient about healthy. We're going to have to help people understand how important it is to be healthy, because the other side of that is just not pretty. I got up there and said, listen, you keep putting things like alcohol in your body, it's poison. If your doctor's telling you it's okay to have a couple cocktails a night or whatever it may be, or in moderation, they're lying to you. They haven't walked their talk yet. You're not going to be the best version of yourself if you put poison in your body. And why do you hear me often talk about alcohol? Because I see it every day. And so does every other doctor. I see it. The reason that it's always associated with high blood pressures. It's always associated with cholesterols. It's always associated with most of the major diseases that we see in our country. Alcohol is not the only one. Lack of exercise is huge. If I go to an audience or anyone listening to this, if you're not exercising basically daily, something every day, there's an opportunity for you to grow. There's an opportunity for you to continue to get a little bit healthier. All right, with that being said, let's dive into this. I think there's a little bit of fun conversation. I think this is one that we want to share with people that maybe even love. And let's start with the first thing is, can you handle the truth? Or are you arguing with reality? The truth is, for many of you, when we talk about some subtleties, is many of you need more sleep. Yet we often argue with reality and say, well, you know, I, this is the only time I have to sleep. I don't have enough hours in the day. Yeah, you do. And what's the consequence if you don't? So what I would say this, often when it comes to our health, make sure you're not arguing with the realities. Are you busy? Sure. But we all have the exact same amount of time. So we can't use time as a limiting factor. And that is one of the biggest arguments I see out there. Doc, I can't exercise because I don't have time anymore. I'm really busy part of my life. I don't have time to prepare my meals. Well, time is not an okay excuse. Time is basically just an excuse. And if you keep believing in it, you're going to keep using it. So let's not argue with realities. And the reality is that when it comes to the truth, a lot of times we can't handle the truth. So we start to just ignore it. Second part of this is, do you want the truth? This is where it gets a little tricky. This is where we have to be super vulnerable, super open, and coachable, quite frankly. Do you want the truth? Do you want someone to say, hey, listen, we'll use me as an example. Hey, Bart, you know what? You're probably better off if you don't eat as many peanut butter balls as you do currently. I happen to eat a lot of peanut butter balls. If someone tells me that truth, is it always going to feel good to hear that truth? The answer is no. It is certainly not going to feel good because it's something I do, and I probably know deep down that I should be letting that go, and I don't want it, and I think everyone else doesn't recognize it. So, do I want the truth? I don't know if we always want it. But deep down, when we hear it, often it stings first. So know that. If there's something you hear and you hear someone say you should exercise every day, and then right away you're like, well, that's not true, blah, blah, blah. I don't have time. You don't have to exercise every day. We do. We do need to move our bodies every day. Human beings were designed to move. We were never designed to sit. We sit at least 5, 6, 7 days a week. Even if you don't sit for a job, we're sitting in our desks, we're sitting in our cars, we're sitting in our couches, we're sitting in our kitchen tables. Folks, we need to move. If we want to live long times, we got to live. We got to move all the times. All right. Then another component. Are you ignoring it? So this can be looked in a couple different ways. Here, I'll give you a couple funny examples. Many of you out there right now, you have things I'll call monitoring devices, things like an Aura ring, like I got in my hand right now, or maybe you have a Garmin watch that tells you how you sleep or your energy levels through the course of the day, your HRV readings. Many of you have these. And when I talk to a lot of my clients, especially my concierge clients, who I encourage all of them to have it. So we are measuring regularly. Are we ignoring what we're measuring? So this is where it gets a little interesting. Many of you are going to kind of chuckle when I say this. They'll say, well, how's your sleep patterns? Tell me about your deep sleep. Well, you know what, Doc? Every time I get up, it tells me that I need to be more restful. And what do? You just ignore it. You just keep going, moving and grooving. And that's where sometimes we don't want the truth, because the truth would require us to get a little uncomfortable. We'd have to do something potentially unfamiliar, and most likely it's going to be inconvenient. Like we might have to go to bed 15 minutes earlier. So as you hear me say this, do some self-application, and then in the idea that you might also know someone that you love and care for in your life, that you really want them. Maybe you send this recording to them as well, so they just start to hear, because there's a lot of people that are around us. And this is going to be my next topic here, around us, that want to share the truth with us, yet they don't know how. So my next question for you, and even for myself, and especially if you are the alpha dog, if you are the one who runs, if you're the mom and the dad, know this. If you were the boss, if you're the entrepreneur, if you're the one running your life, basically if you're an adult at this point, no one gets to tell you anything to improve yourself. You and I have decided that we know what's best, and from this point forward, we are going to be the captains of our ship. Very few of us give up the vulnerability or give up the trust to other people that allow them to hold us semi accountable. What does this look like? Ask yourself right now, is there anyone in your life, or who is it in your life that can tell you the truth? Who is it in your life that you allow, without hating them or getting mad at them, allow them to say things like, hey, listen, you know what? You probably shouldn't drink as much. You probably need to change your food. Hey, listen, I notice you're putting on a couple pounds. Could you imagine someone in your life telling you that right now? And if you don't have anyone that can say that, no, it's because you don't allow it. There are people that want to help you level up. They care and love for you. But if you're not allowing that to take place, and if none of that's taking place, if no one's telling you anything that could be a little bit better for you, your life, and your outcomes, then no, it's because you're shutting them down. So, with that being said, what do we do about that? Look around for that individual that you literally tell them, hey, listen, you can hold me accountable. This is some of the things I need to know that I would change. Or you might even ask them, listen, do you notice any habits, patterns in the way that I eat, the way that I talk, the way that I deal with people? If you got someone that you care and love for in your life, most likely they care and love for you as well, and they will be honest with you. And the type of relationship that you're going to have is going to be like no others, because this is when it gets deep, when we have people that we have in our lives that can tell us the truth, and we don't judge them or hate them, because sometimes the truth is hard to handle. Sometimes we're not ready to handle. Here's the difference of how we need to send it. It's all about intention. If my intention by telling you the truth is to make me right and to get you to maybe walk my path or confirm what I'm doing is better or correct, then that intention will feel as if I'm trying to manipulate you or tell you something to do like me. If the intention, rather, though, is comes from a pure place in my heart, that I truly care and love for you, and that collectively, that you and everyone else around you would be better off if you changed particular things or if you understood this information, this truth. And if you do that from that place, let's just say it's your mom or your dad, and you truly want to help encourage them to get better health, figure out a way to share the truth with them, and they'll understand the intention. But I'll tell you what, because I have a lot of people that say, man, I wish I could get my mom to blank. I wish I can get my dad to blank. And instead of trying to tell them all the rights and wrongs, the goal is then to just share with them truth. And the truth might be that you don't get to speak the truth to them. We don't have that opportunity with some of our communications. So that's a big one to tackle. And I don't know that you're ever going to be able to change someone else's habits, but sometimes just exposing a little bit of truth can be the key to making that next change here. So how else do we ignore the truth? Sometimes we have these monitors, these Aura rings and these watches and whatnot. Or it might be that you don't run your labs, or you get lab work, but you never follow it up. You don't take the actions and then follow it up with your practitioner. The role that I get to play for often for people is I get to be the truth slayer to some degree. And I often call things like labs. They tell us the truth. I have a machine in my body. It's called an in-body. It tells us about our metabolic health, how much you weigh, your body fat percentage. I call it the truth slayer. It does not lie to you. The scale is often something that will tell you the truth. It does not lie about your weight. So often we will ignore these things because sometimes the truth hurts. But I will tell you, every time you expose yourself to the truth, that's your opportunity to level up. Like it, dislike it, hate it, hide it, but get yourself exposed to it. The moment you get yourself exposed to a little bit of truth, I promise you that's where the growth begins, right then and there. Even if you're fighting it, you get to start to expose that little something, something that in the back of your mind, you know that you probably should give up the alcohol. Oftentimes, again, people argue with some of the realities. Maybe you're trying to lose some weight, but you're still drinking alcohol. Most likely, those two things will not work together. Maybe you are trying to feel better physically in your body, but you are not exercising. Maybe you are trying to have more energy, but you're not going to bed at the proper time at night. So those are all arguments that you have with yourself or arguing with reality, because those are the fundamentals that need to take place. All right, with that being said, let me wrap this up in saying this, that the truth sometimes is often hard to receive, yet it is also what sets you free. And I think I'm stealing that line from something, but the truth will set you free. This past weekend, when I get an opportunity to share with literally, probably a couple thousand of my colleagues, and sharing them with a little bit of tough love within the people that you love and care for, within your particular surroundings, your family, your friends, we need to allow ourselves to give each other some tough love. And sometimes when you have the proper intention, you share it with somebody, and then also be open to receive it. It doesn't have to be like back and forth in that single moment. You'll be surprised at the level of respect and the depth of the relationships that can come as a result of that. So I'm going to encourage everyone to seek more truth, especially when it comes to your health, your wealth, and relationships. Because this is a Health Made Simple podcast, we're going to kind of hone into the health part of this. There are options and opportunities that you have sitting in front of you. If you knew a little bit more about the truth, and literally, it might be by just taking more labs. Maybe you need to go to a doctor. Maybe you need a health coach. Maybe you need to sit down with me to help you observe what is taking place in your body and your health. All right. With that being said, keep doing your thing. Keep sharing it out. Hopefully, this sits in a place that it just kind of resonates for you in a way that you recognize that, man, maybe I need to be a little bit more open to receiving information from the ones I love. But listen, you don't need to receive anything with people that don't have your best intentions in place. And the more you're open to receiving it, you're going to find other people willing and capable of receiving the messages that you have for them that come from love. All right. With that being said, keep doing the thing, keep sharing out, keep spreading the love. Thank you for being here today. I look forward to seeing you having the next podcast. Of course, we're going to take deliberate action for our mind, our body, overall wealth. Y'all be awesome.